Good, happy Sunday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast. Let's get started. First up, President electors face heightened security. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
'Tis the season of giving and saving more at McMulkin Chevrolet. Wrap up more for less in lease 2017 Chevrolet Silverados for only $294 a month with only $99 due at signing.
Make it McMulkin.
And save during the Red Tag sales event.
Tomorrow, the eyes of the political world will be on presidential electors who will be meeting in state capitals across the country to cast their electoral votes. While Donald Trump won the most electoral college votes on November 8th, some of his most vocal opponents have been calling for electors to deny him the presidency. The New Hampshire State House is a beacon of democracy. Tomorrow it will host one of the more obscure constitutional functions of our federal republic as presidential electors cast their votes and send them to Washington. But this normally low-profile event is different in 2016. As St. Anselm professor of politics Chris Galdieri says, electors are under tremendous scrutiny.
There's been a lot of controversy this year, a lot of calls for electors to vote for someone other than Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton won New Hampshire's 4 electoral votes on November 8th. Her hand-picked electors are former Executive Counselor Dudley Dudley, former Senate President Bev Hollingworth, former House Speaker Terry Norelli, and Congresswoman Carol Shea Porter. None are expected to become what's known as a faithless elector, one who turns on their chosen candidate.
The Constitution doesn't place any limits on who electors can vote for, and so campaigns are aware of that, and they try to correct for that by picking people who are party loyalists and who are going to vote for the party's candidate come hell or high water.
According to Galdieri, there are ways the electors could keep the presidency from the president-elect, at least in part by giving electoral votes to another plausible Republican. But he says it's a lot of wishful thinking on the part of Donald Trump's opponents.
If enough votes were cast for someone like John Kasich or Mitt Romney or some other third candidate to deprive Trump of 270 electoral votes, that the election would then go into the House and there'd be a chance for that third candidate to get chosen. I think the likelihood of that is very, very small.
New Hampshire's electors were among those who made the formal request for an intelligence briefing on Russian interference in the presidential campaign and alleged ties between Russians and members of the Trump campaign. That request was denied, and a top local Trump supporter said local electors need to, quote, get a life.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Burglary. Suspect concerned by homeowner arrested by police. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9.
On 2017 Chevy Cruze LS's for only $179 a month.
Make it McMulkin.
And save during the Red Tag sales event. From our dealership to you, happy holidays.
Adam and Sharice, that's right. The homeowner actually spotted the suspect in his garage, and then he approached him with his adult son. Now, Goffstown police say it was right around 6:30 Saturday evening here on Edmond Street when the victim had the run-in with this suspect. Now, police say they didn't have to physically detain that suspect, just cornered him in the garage, and they say the suspect actually stayed with the victim until police came. Now, the suspect was eventually arrested, and as we mentioned, he is currently behind bars tonight. Neighbors here say this is typically a quiet neighborhood, and they're quite surprised to see what was unfolding in front of them last night.
There was a little bit of police involvement with what was going on, which is great. Thank God for the Goffstown Police Department to come through and as urgency as they did and take care of what was going on.
And now Patella is being held on $50,000 cash bail. Police say this was a random incident. As for a motive, that is still unclear at this time. Now, there were a couple of package thefts in this neighborhood, in this town rather, over the past couple of days, but police say they believe these two cases are not related. We're live here in Goffstown. I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report in that video. DNC chair conducts Obama. Russian hackers came after U.S. until end of election. Let's take a listen to this video from ABC News.
But it's President Obama who is under pressure for his administration's response to the Russian hacks from both Republicans and his own Democratic Party. He defended himself in that Friday press conference, arguing he had an obligation to not step out too far, afraid of appearing to tip the scales for the Clinton campaign.
In this hyper-partisan atmosphere, at a time when my primary concern was making sure that the integrity of the election process was not in any way damaged, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood we were playing this thing straight.
Let's take that straight to Donna Brazil, the chair of the Democratic National Committee, which took the brunt of Russia's cyber hacks. Donna, your party was hacked. Some of your emails were included in that. Do you buy the president's argument, or do you think he let Democrats down by not taking a stronger approach?
Well, first of all, I'm gratified that after 7 months when it...
Okay, and there you go on that report. If you want to watch the full video, just go to abcnews.go.com and click on that link. McCain, Russian elect-related hacks threaten to destroy democracy. Let's take a listen to this video from CNN.
What's happening here? When we see the seizure of these ships, when we see the cyber attacks, when we see the dismemberment of Syria, when we see the tragedies that are taking place there, which are heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking, while we sat by and watched all this happen, this is the sign of a possible unraveling of the world order that was established after World War II, which has made one of the most peaceful periods in the history of the world. We're starting to see that, the strains and the unraveling of it, and that is because of an absolute failure of American leadership. When America doesn't lead, a lot of other bad people do, and that's why we're seeing this slaughter in Aleppo that breaks your heart.
I understand that you're critical of President Obama on this issue, but are you not even more concerned about the fact that President-elect Trump seems to want to be friends with Vladimir Putin? I haven't heard him ever criticize Putin, ever. Have you?
No, I have not heard him criticize Putin. I think reality is going to intercede at one point or another just because of the Russian activities. And I hope that with people like General Mattis and some other people around him, that he will very quickly understand what the Russians are all about. And that is, they are ahead of us in many respects in this whole issue of cyber warfare. So we not only need a select committee on exactly what they did in this case, but the whole issue of cyber warfare, where we have no strategy and no policy, because it is one of the areas where they have an advantage, and perhaps the only area where our adversaries have an advantage over us.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. That does it for the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday night. Good night, everyone. Bye.